I'm going to share no. Got it. And did you disable my?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I have to redo that. I don't understand why I have to do it every single time.
Got it.
Hold on.
We good?
You should be good. It says co-host
Let's
next
see.
to you.
It says, I don't know which one will come up first, so I'll sort them out after. 1, 2, 3. Let's share them all, and let me go to this one first. And let me come up here. So Adrienne has this, and she sent it to you, so you can keep it on the side. You can print it. You can print the slides out, whatever you want. Some of them, obviously, you don't like the first one. You don't need to print out. But I'm going to go through a lot of this pretty quickly because I really want to spend more time with some editing. All right. For those of you who do not have Lightroom CC, Creative Cloud, you're going to be a little bit limited with this because if you have an older version of Lightroom, Lightroom now is very different in terms of its capability than what it was with Lightroom 5 or Lightroom 6. So just to let you know that. I'm going to do this from Lightroom Classic, which is Creative Cloud, which is updated right now for today. So here we go. All right, so why do I use this? Why is this my favorite editing program? It's non-destructive. That means that when I do something to a picture, it's not touching my original. Okay. File management capabilities are fabulous with it in terms of finding things by folder, by flag, by stars, by color. You can find it by date. You can find things by camera lens, by the lens you shot. I can see if it's my iPhone shot. I can keyword. I can find anything that I need to find, and I can find it quickly if you set it up right and you do your homework. You can't cut corners with the file management in Lightroom when you start. Okay, the other reason I use it is as external editing capability. What does that mean? I can be in Lightroom and I can decide I want to send the picture to Photoshop because there's things in Photoshop that I want to work with that aren't in Lightroom or that work better than in Lightroom. And I will jump the picture out. It'll go to Photoshop. I'll edit it. It'll come back into Lightroom automatically and it will stack it with the original photo. So that's the other reason is also because I can publish outside. My website is on SmugMug. And that entitles, I can actually publish and put any picture I want right out to my website via SmugMug. It doesn't do it with all, but it does it with certain outside publishing companies. You can also export and resize. And you can bring things that I might want to bring out of Lightroom and then actually make a copy that I might do something with later. That means that I might send it to Ann Dignan for Valencia Falls for action shots. I might be sending it to the F3C. I might be sending it in email. I might be putting it in Dropbox. But so I can, that's the only time that I would actually make another picture and send it out of Lightroom with the corrections applied. And I'll explain that in a minute. And because you can export and use it, right? I email directly out of Lightroom when I'm playing with my pictures. Okay, so file management. This is the key part for those of you that are setting up or thinking about this or going to set up. Where are your files? And we've discussed this in some of our workshops. Your files should not be on your computer. When somebody tells me that, it's a scary thought. The files should be in a picture folder, a mother load that houses all of your pictures. It can be on an external drive. It could be on an internal drive. It could be on a PC folder. It can be in Finder in Mac. It doesn't matter where, but all of your photos should be in one mother load. And then from there, you can have subfolders within those folders. But you should not be having anything in Lightroom that's a single picture or a single picture floating around on a desktop or somewhere else where you've got pieces here. When you set up Lightroom and you go to tell it, okay, Lightroom, here you go. We got you loaded, you're all installed, and now you can bring in the pictures. and I click a button, it will bring in every picture from everywhere on my computer, in documents, on your desktop, and then there is no more file management because you don't even know where they are. So one mother load, put all your pictures in one place and know where they are and label them. And the other thing is that you need to, when you do your picture folders, I'm going to go through a couple of things here. I also do, I use Lightroom because I can airdrop my iPhone pictures. I don't put my iPhone pictures and leave them in the cloud. I do not do that. It just wastes phone space. I come back at the end of a shoot. I put my card in. I import all my images off my card from my camera in Lightroom, and then I go right to my phone and see if I shot anything on that day. And if I did, I take them and I bring them in as well through airdropping. So I don't have all that wasted phone space. And know where your catalog files are. Okay, so now I'm going to go back and show you a couple of things. Wait, one more. These are all on the slides, and you need to know this is what houses everything in Lightroom. All right, so let's discuss a concept here for a minute. I'm going to jump off here for a minute. I'm going to go to Lightroom for a second. Got that? Everybody can see? All right, if you don't have the screen, let me know. So here are all of my picture
No,
files.
it did, and it didn't go. It's still on that slide that
All right,
says
that's what I
Lightroom
needed to know. Okay, hang
catalog.
on. Let's see.
Minimize the slide.
Hold on. I just got to make sure that it's. Do you have it now? No?
No.
Okay. Here we go. This is going to give me grief today. Share screen. Let's go between this one and let's do this one for now. All right, hang on a minute. And let me close you. All right, close that window. All right. Share screen one more time. Finder and Lightroom Classic. Let's see if this works. Okay, do you have this now?
It says Lightroom Classic catalog files. It's
Correct.
still from the
Okay.
PowerPoint.
Correct. I'm in the PowerPoint. I'm going to go right to my Lightroom file.
Okay.
You are looking for this, and I will tell you this. When you find it, you should know where it is. And the reason you want to know where it is because you don't ever want to touch it. Do not play with them. Do not go into them. You need to have a lot of advanced knowledge to do that. You start to get into these files and you're going to have a screw up. There's only one thing you ever want to know. This little thing here with the icon, if I hit this, my Lightroom's going to open. It's like the same as my having out of my dock bar or going to my program files. But if I go into here, where all of my Lightroom catalog information is, here's the catalog itself. I click on it and it will open. So let me just see if this will work. Do we have, can you see this now?
Yeah, on the side.
You can see can you see my Lightroom pictures with the grid mode?
No, I don't. All we're seeing is this.
You still see the slide. All right.
Yeah, the slide was in the center and you could see Lightroom on both sides.
All right, hang on one more time. Let's just see. I'll just try this. I don't know why it's not.
There you go.
Right. What I've got is
that's
Lightroom on the left, Lightroom on the right, and all the grid pictures in the middle. Is that what you're seeing?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. That's what I want you to see. Here are all my pictures. 15,269. That's it. That's everything in my arsenal is there. Okay. Notice there's no single pictures. There's all catalog names. I do not arrange my pictures in folders by date. Why? Because I'm chronologically stupid. I am brain dead. I don't remember when I was where, but I remember the where. So for me, my file management system is set up by animals, by flowers and trees, by light painting, places, trips. If I open my trips, here's my trip folder. These are all my trips. And if I open, for example, here in France, there's 2 folders in France because I was in France twice. So that's how my system looks. If you go back where my pictures are housed, and this is going to be the most important concept I'm going to give you. If I go back into Finder, I'm going to stop, take a look at this for a second. You see how this looks? Okay, I'm going to stop share for 1 minute, and I'm going to reshare, and I'm going to go here to Finder, and I'm going to click here and click on this. Hold on, it's not what I wanted. Stop it. Hold on a minute. Stop share. Just a sec. I am having a problem with my share screen today. That's a PowerPoint. Here we go. Safari. I'm not getting my Lightroom up. I'm getting Lightroom. Here it is. One more. I promise this will get a little cleaner in a second. As soon as I get out of here. Okay, one more time. Okay. Let's try share screen. Are you there this time? Here we go. Okay. This is where on my external hard drive, remember I showed you, here's all my catalog settings. Here is all the picture files. This picture file mimics exactly what you just saw in Lightroom. It's exactly the same, except it's got a couple more folders in it because I have some backups from Luminar and some other things in it. But basically, all the pictures here are the same. So what does this mean? All right, what this means is this. If I am in Lightroom, the pictures that you are seeing that are up here on my grid, in the grid mode, they are not doubles of the pictures in my picture files. They're just previews of the pictures. So this is how it works. You load Lightroom, you tell Lightroom, I'm going to give you access to the following folders. It might be the whole mother load, doesn't have to be, but in this case, I let them have it all. Lightroom, you now know where all of my folders are or where my pictures are. And now when I edit a given picture, for example, if I went to edit this, I would then, what I'm saying to Lightroom is if I did all this editing, what would it look like? What would the picture back there look like? But don't make it permanent. Don't do it. Don't change it. Just show me what it would look like if I made changes to the picture. Okay, and therefore I could edit 5 different versions of this, and it will show me all kinds of different versions, but it won't necessarily be making another picture. That picture is still back there untouched. When does that picture change? Never. The only time the picture ever changes is when I make another one. And I would make another one if I want to now say, gee, I want to do something with this. I've got it where I want it. I want to send this to the F3C. I want to send it to Anne for action shots. I want to send it out to the Spider Awards. I want to send it to Black and White magazine. Now I would export that picture out with the settings that they require. And I now would put that next to, in that folder, now there would be a second picture. There would be another picture that would be the edited version, now permanent, but it never touched the original. Does everybody understand that? That's the most important thing I can tell you. Okay, so here we go. So when I said to you before that you don't want to touch things the same way that, let me say this, certain rules, okay? If I want to make a change in a folder, or I want to move one picture from one folder to another, let's say I wanted to take one of these infrareds and I wanted to move this to another folder. I could simply just come up here and I could move it here into another folder and it would just go over to that folder and now it would always come up in that folder. If I do it here, it will also do the same exact thing where the mother load is stored back on either your PC or wherever the files were for me in my folder on Lightroom. So when you make a change to either move a picture around, put it in a different folder, do not make the change in the mother load back on the computer. Make it in Lightroom. Why? Because if you don't make it in Lightroom and you make it back in the folder where all the pictures were before you brought them, imported them in, You've told Lightroom before that here's what this picture is. Now Lightroom doesn't know where it is anymore. It's going to start hunting for it because it doesn't know where you put it because you changed it back in the computer file. If you change it here, it will change it back there. If you change it back there, it will not take place where Lightroom will no longer be able to find the picture. And you'll have to go tell Lightroom where to relocate it. That becomes a pain in the neck. So when you make changes, you only make them here, okay? The other thing I will tell you is that let's go to, all right, how do you find out where your folders are? Just so you know if you've got Lightroom up. If you go up here to Lightroom Classic on the top, you can't see my top menu, but next to Lightroom Classic, all the way up top, if I click on that, it gives me catalog settings. And if I click here on catalog settings, I'm going to get windows that come up. So I'm going to show you briefly these windows. Back in here again, because they are important. Where did it go? I am really, here we go. One there. Okay, so this is what this looks like, which I just showed you. If you go up above to the Lightroom and you go to those catalog settings and you go to general, here's what general looks like. This is general. What is this telling me? It's telling me that this is where all of my Lightroom files are. This is where my catalog is. It's on my external drive. Okay, most people have their files for the catalog in a different place than where their pictures are. I don't have them in the picture file, but I have them on the same drive. And maybe those who work with a PC or a double laptop, that's so I can just take the drive off, put it on my laptop, and have the same catalog. So I can work with that going away. But that's what this looks like. It's on the sheet. You want this set up this way. So all you have to do is look and see if you have anything that's set up, and is it set up like this. The file handling is here. The most important thing about this really is preview quality. I set it on medium. There's all kinds of different ways. I allow the standard preview size to be 1440. That's standard stock. You could go larger. It'll take longer for the picture to come up. That's all. But that'll give you a second. But this is important. I do not. Anybody ever seen what an XMP file is? It's all the metadata that gets attached to a file. And then when you look back in Finder or you look somewhere else, you've got the picture, and then you have something called an XMP. I don't need it. I don't do it. Half the people that I work with, like Matt Klaskowski and the rest of them, I leave this unchecked. If you don't have it, if you have it checked now, Adrian, I would tell you, get rid of it.
Okay.
Automatically write changes into X, uncheck it. You don't need it. It's just not necessary. It's just burdensome. So, does everybody know how to import a picture from your card into Lightroom?
Yes.
Does anybody need to go over that? All right, here we go. So we're not going to do that. I'm going to get more into editing, which is fine. So let's do this. Let's just say I imported. I'm going to leave now and go back to Lightroom for a second. Okay. I am in Lightroom. Oh, my cat's having a fit. I am in Lightroom. And I just imported, let's say, all these pictures that we might be using for today, Lightroom Classic Workshop. I just imported these. These just came in. So this is how I work, all right? I simply go to the first picture, and I put this in the loop mode. This is the grid mode. A lot of little tiny thumbnails. There's a way to change the thumbnail slider down here on the bottom right. You can change that thumbnail size. So if I want to look at this separately, I will look at it that way and double click on it, or click however you want and hit E. E is loop, G is grid. Here's your E mode. I'm just hitting my keyboard. Now what happens is you can use your arrow keys to go back and forth and just simply go through them. So if this was my shoot and I just came home from the South Florida Fair, I'm going to look at that picture And I'm going to say, yeah, keep that. Yeah, keep that. No, delete that. I'm going to put an X on it. I just hit my keyboard and typed the letter X. I move on and I really, really like this. So I really want to work on that picture right away. That to me is a special picture. I put a P on it. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep it. I really like this. So I'm going to P. I don't like this. I'm going to hit an X. And that's how that goes. And when I'm all done with that, I've got a million X's. I've already dumped by hitting X's and I'll go back in the grid mode. And you can see all the ones with the X's. They're right up here, a little tiny X. See, this one is an X. So if I really did that through 400, 500 shots, it maybe take me a half hour to just dump out the crap I don't want. Now I go all the way up. You cannot see it, but all the way up top above my window, there's Lightroom file, edit, library, photo. You hit photo and you go all the way down where it says delete rejected photos. And I would then click that. And now those two photos that I've marked with X's, or 400 of them, or whatever it might be, I am going to now delete. Now, it's not giving me the option to delete them because they're only virtual copies. They're not the original pictures, or I shouldn't say that. They're not the preview pictures. They're copies I made to work on today, and I'll give you an example. So I'm going to cancel that, and I'm going to turn around and do this. And this is something you should know. If I delete this picture, I'm removing it from Lightroom, but there never was a picture back in Finder or back in your PC file mother load. There never was a picture. It's only a preview. And I just made an extra preview. So I would get rid of it. But if I'm in one of my other folders here, and I wanted to, let's say, delete this, and I put an X on this, notice the little X came up here. And if I go to the grid mode, you'll see it here in the grid mode. And then if I hit photo, delete rejected, and I click on it, I'm in a collection set, which is why it's not letting me do that. Hang on, I got to go back into that. I can't do it this way. Yeah, here we go. Pick one here. All right, so let's just say I wanted to dump this. All right, so let's say there's an X on this, okay? And I want to turn around and go back to photo, delete rejected photos. Now I'm going to have this come up. Going to give me two options. Going to give me the option to remove it from Lightroom or delete it from the disk. You want to, 99% of the time, unless it's a virtual copy that I made, which is just going to give me only one option, remove it from Lightroom. This is telling me if I hit delete from the disk, it makes the picture go away back in the mother load, back where you have all the pictures that you originally brought into the computer. Okay, that's what's key about it. If I hit remove it from Lightroom, what it does is it takes it out of Lightroom, but it leaves it on my disk. It leaves it on the drive where all my pictures were stored. Why do I want to do that? If I don't like the picture and I want it to go, I'm going to delete it from the disk. Never going to delete it. I'm never going to just remove it from Lightroom. Very rarely do I ever do that. So I'm going to go back here and I want to do one thing that I have to do before I forget this, because I don't want to lose that picture. All right, so I can call, if I'm in, here's collections. Let's discuss collections. I have, here's my folders. Here's all the pictures, okay? My whole mother load is here. If I want to turn around, and I make a lot of collections. Why do I use collections? Because maybe I'm working on something where for the art of photography, I'm looking for Spider Awards. Maybe I'm looking to work on pictures that have to do with symmetry. And I want to remember what pictures I had in. So if this is, for example, my color awards, here's all the pictures I put into the color awards. So I know where they are. Now I'm in a collection. I'm not in the folder where they came from, and nor did it make another picture. This file here is saying to me, I'm in I'm up here. Where is this picture? Which folder is it in? I don't know where that folder could be. It could be anywhere. So watch what's great about this. You go up to photo, all the way up top, and there's an option and it says, go to the folder in the library. And now there it was. I shot that at Lion Country Safari. And it's in my pictures with my animal parks. And it opened up the folder to show me where it was. So that's what collections do. It helps you keep track of other things. And I'm going to come back down here to this workshop. All right.
But how do
So-
you get the picture if you create a collection? How do you get the picture in there?
It's a good thing. Okay, here we go. How do you make a collection? So let's just say, here's collections. Let's go through this very, very quickly. These right and left sides change depending upon what mode I'm in, whether I'm in the library module up here, the development module. If I go to develop, this changes, as does my right side. And what do I use? I do use library. I use develop. I use map when I'm on lakes or I'm looking to see where I might have shot, because I don't have a GPS on my phone, on my camera. So I don't use that, but I use it for iPhone shots. So here's what I do. When I travel, I take a picture with my iPhone shot first, and then I turn around and then I take the picture with my camera. And I can always go back and figure out where I was that way with the iPhone shot. I don't use books. Most people don't. Most people find it's burdensome. They don't like it. Why do I use a slideshow? Only if I want to put pictures on the TV screen and look at them in a slideshow, because I have AirPlay on my Mac on my TV, so I can take anything in here in this room and put it on my TV screen up there in a slideshow. I never use the print module. I print via Epson, and I use my Epson. You can use it. It's burdensome. It's obnoxious. I don't like it. And the web, it will make a website for you if you want it to. I do not use any of them. I use Lightroom. I use the develop. Those are the two that I really, really use. So here's this window on the left. On the left, you see a navigator screen. All it does is if I change my picture, it'll show me up in the navigation screen on the top left what picture I'm on. Most people close it. They don't even use it. It just is a waste of space. That's my thinking. So underneath that, it has all photographs. This is because, notice here it says 15,000. Up here it says 18,000. Where are the other pictures? They're on my internal hard drive or on Dropbox. They're elsewhere. They're not in that mother load. They're not in the load that comes into Lightroom. I have pictures if I want to go look on Macintosh HD inside my hard drive. These are pictures on my internal drive, not on my external drive. These are the ones that I deal with on my external drive. So what do I use these for? When I export something out, or I want to have folders for Dropbox, or I want to use them to send out to F3C or Facebook, that's when I put them on my internal drive. Why do I not want to do a lot of that? Because it's a waste of my space. So, all right. So at any rate, that's what this is. This quick collection, I never use it. Previous import tells me exactly what I brought in on my very last shoot. And if you're not sure where the pictures went to and you see, God, I brought them in, but they're not where I thought they were. And you sit there and you say, well, where is that picture? You can simply go up to photo and go to the folder in the library. And there it was. I brought that in from the TOP from the Art of Photography. So that's what that's about. I'm going to close my internal drive off because all we're working with is really my external drive for now. So over here underneath, how do you make a collection? All right, I decided that I need to make a collection because I'm going to hit the plus button, hit create. And this is for somebody who doesn't know, this is really, really cool. I'm going to give it a name. Let's give this a name. I'm going to say Lightroom workshop, okay? And It's not going to be inside a collection because it's not going to be in another folder. It's going to be its own folder. So I am not making it go inside. Here's the key. There's a little thing here that says set as target collection. That is monumental. If you click that, any picture now in the entire mother load will go into that folder, and it'll only go into that folder, which is the last one that I made. If I make another collection right now, and I make that one set as a target collection, it erases the target collection for the one before it. So let's say that right now I do this, and now I'm looking through and I'm saying, okay, what pictures do I have in here in the mother load? Watch it. So here's the folder. I set it up, and it's going to be empty. It's going to say Lightroom. Didn't even come up yet. Hold on a minute. Let me just see something.
It says 0 Lightroom workshop. Isn't that what you just did?
Yeah, I just couldn't see it. It says 0.
Yeah.
So let's say this is a picture I wanted to P in it. All I do now, and the letter is, don't ask me why they made this letter. The letter B is in boy. Click it on your keyboard. Watch what happened. Lightroom Workshop added that into that collection. Is now 1. So let's say I go up here to still life and I want to put this in there. I hit the B key. It's now 2. That is so fast. So I can go through all of my pictures folder by folder. And when I hit something that's of interest to what I'm looking for to make a collection for, like what I might use for spiders, what I might use for the next color awards, what I might use for the F3C, I put it in a folder, in a collection. Then when I'm done with the collection, don't let this get crazy. Go to the collection. We're not using these 2 things. I'm done with it, and simply right click. By the way, this didn't make another picture. It put the preview from this picture up also down here in another space. It's not another picture. So I can delete. If I try to delete this, it won't let me delete it because it's in a collection, but it will let me remove it from the collection. So if I go down and I right click on that, remove from collection is my option. That's how you get a picture out of there. Or I simply can go to the folder, which I don't longer want, and I'm going to say delete. And it's going to say delete the Lightroom collection. Yeah, and now it's gone.
Okay.
So you make it with the plus, you title it, and if you wanted to make it inside another folder and you wanted more than, let's see if I have one. Here I do. I know there's one in here. It would be maybe looking to see where I have more than one. Now, here we go. Spider Awards. I have a whole bunch of them in Spider Awards. These are collections. I have spiders for 24, 23, 22, 21. And why do I keep them in there? Because I can't remember what the hell I submitted. It makes it easier for me. And then I also can mark them as terms of what got a nod and what didn't. And if I open and I close this again and hit the little chevron, it closes it. So it doesn't look like a million things. So that's what I do with collections. And over here on the other side, on the bottom of this, I will show you this. This is my smug mug. This is where I just put this in here, and there's a way to set up publishing. I won't do it today. You'd have to have a SmugMug account, make the account, and then there's a way to get Lightroom to do that. So that's a special thing that requires another time to do. Find more services online is where you go. But you can also make a collection of desktop screensavers. That's here too, if you wanted to do that. So if I go to the other side on the right, and I'm in the library mode, you got a histogram. I always leave the histogram open. Histogram tells me a ton. Right now, this particular picture is flagged here. I'm going to double click on it. Notice it's pushed to the right because my whites are blown out to the right. Intentionally, we're going to edit that shortly, and you'll see what happens there. I don't ever really work in here at all except a keyword. This picture is keyworded to say architecture bayfront exoskeleton. That's where that building was in Miami. So if I wanted to find that, I could go into architecture. I know I shot that in Bayfront. I could just simply go up here. If I wanted to find, this is fun. I'll show you. I am now in the mother load. Here we go. That's the mother load. I'm not in a specific folder, okay? I'm in the mother load. And if I wanted to find, I'm going to type in text up on the top. And you see it says text attribute meta. So watch text. Text, you put it over here and write in the keywords. So I would write in, let's see. All right, hang on. Because I spelled it wrong. Still not. Keyword. All right, hold on. Still not in the right thing here. Okay, let me go here. All right, I got to just delete this because I'm in this. I want this to be 0. Okay. What I had typed in before was wood storks. Okay, and if I go in here to wood storks, I didn't want to cover it. Let me try another one. All right, so here's my great blue heron shots. I just went through 15,000 shots and it located every great blue heron shot that I've kept that I liked. Okay. So the point of the matter is I also could say, no, I only want to find the ones that I shot in 20. Let's go out of here. I'm going to see all the shots. And I'm going to go hit a metadata that were in 2021. See the dates come up? 2021, I'm going to go to 2023. January. That's what I shot in January of 2023. I could also say, how many did I shoot with my iPhone? I shot them with my iPhone. I could go up here and say, well, what lenses? Let's say I go back here and I don't want to shoot. I want to shoot all 3 cameras and I want to see what lens I use. I could say, what did I use on my wide angle? I use them on my wide angle. You can find dates. You can find by collection. You can find by metadata, by keywords, by attribute. This would be something that would be, for example, a flag. So let's go to all. And I want to pull up something that would be, these are all my flag ones. See all the P's? They're flagged. So you can find, and it says down here, rated. So there are ways of finding, and you go back to filters off. So there are ways of finding anything you can think of. If you've put them into folders properly and you've organized, if you keyword even better, but keywording is tough. A lot of people don't want to keyword because it's very time consuming. So you don't need that because the dates, all right, on the right, watch what's down here. Here's the keywords. And if I want to put a keyword in for something, let's say I want to take this and I want, this was at Northwood. I'm going to type another keyword in for it. I'm going to type in musician. Northwood, always put a comma in and put down musician. And I'll put down, here we go. And now if I called up musician, no matter what folder I'm in the mother load, this will come up. So going back here, it also shows me what all my keywords are. Watch the list. These are my lists of keywords. It's limitless. You could have 1 million of them. It doesn't make any difference how many you have as long as you can find what you want. So I would close this off and close the keyword list off. And last thing you want to see is this. Down here in the bottom with metadata, this shows the name of the file. This shows the file folder that it's in. This does not have a title, but if I had a title for that, it was something I put out to the International Color Wars and it needed a title, I would then give it a name and I would just type in the title. And now I would never forget what I called that picture because frequently we need titles. It tells me the date. It tells me the size of it. It tells me the megapixels, tells me what camera. It shows me my exposure. And if I go down here to customize right here, now you can pick out whatever else you want. And there is a ton of things that you can call up to give you more information than I have here. That's all I need. So that's how that works there. If I go to develop, which is where I headed to, I have a lot of options over here. One of which, here's that navigator again, it's a waste, but I have presets. I get presets from Matt Kluskowski. I've got presets that come with Lightroom. Some didn't come with Lightroom. I got them from Matt. And so there's all kinds of presets here, and I'll show you how they work. It's pretty interesting. In the develop mode on the right, there's the histogram again. This drifts off to the blacks. I'm pushed to the blacks, meaning my blacks are a little dark. Maybe I like it that way. I'm not clipped, but it's the way I set my background up. This gives you an auto option where you can set auto. And if I do auto, that's what I got. If I don't like auto, Command Z just undoes it.
It's like Photoshop, right?
Correct. Same as. So
Control Z.
I can change it to black and white. There's black and white. If I click black and white again, it goes back to the color. So this black and white goes one way, and click the same black and white, it goes back to color. This gives me all kinds of individual things, and I'll show you how I work them. I'll give you my workflow. This is a matter of a tone curve. If I do this and I do this, I can set my tone curve up a little differently. If I click right in the middle of it, it'll set it back to normal. Go back. There it is, back to normal. It has a linear thing. I can make it more contrasty if I want. This is fabulous. We're going to work with that. I'm going to show you quickly. This I don't use a lot. What I have been using a lot is denoise. And I've been using camera profile. I do use a lens correction, and I use transform on architectural more than anything else. But this thing, which is the lens blur mode that they just came out with an early access, is phenomenal. And then there's a vignette. I never touch calibration. Leave it alone. I just close it. And I would close pretty much because I don't use, I'm going to close this for now, which is the color grading, but I'll go over it. So what I want to do is just go through a bunch of pictures, and I'll show you what my workflow is. How about that? Does that work for everybody?
Go.
There we go. And I'm going to go down here to collections because I put all these in collections. And let me put you over here on this side after I find it. All your little faces are blocking it up. Okay. There we go. Lightroom Classic Workshop. Here we go. And let me move this over here. So I'm going to stay in the develop mode. That's where I'm going to be. And I picked pictures that were intentionally shot that were really testy in terms of needing work. And you'll see how fast this is. All right, so we have an elephant. And the first thing I would say, I'm looking at this and I always crop first. That's usually that and denoise, but I'll crop first. And if I was in Photoshop, I would extend this. Photoshop elements also extend the background, extend that. I would extend this. He's too tight. But let's just say I go there and I take a little bit off here and I take that. Notice this little guy's got a half a trunk. Somebody got his trunk, but he's surviving. So now I've got that. First thing I usually do, just to see what happens, is I hit auto. And that's not bad. I like what it did. That's a start. I still find he's a little dark around here where the ears are or whatever else. And you can see where the histogram is. Look, when I put my little mouse on the top of that little arrow above the histogram, watch what happens to the elephants down here where the dark is. You see it? Lights it up in blue. So I would immediately, on this case, knowing I think it's got too much in the way of the blacks, I'm going to give you a secret. Here's my secret. I'm going to set this back, the black the way it was. If you hold, and you're working with this, and you hold your Option key down on a Mac or Alt key down on a PC, and you then hold it down and hit the blacks, and move this until you just see a little bit of black. Now move it back off, and that's about right about there. And again, it's not all, sometimes I like it dark. I want it darker than that. I'll do the same thing with the whites. It only works on whites. And look at the histogram move. Watch the histogram. So I'll push this histogram a little more over until I just see a little speck of white, which I did. You see the little specks of white? So I'll back off. So now I'll get that. And now I'm saying, all right, it needs a little bit more in the shadows. So I'll bring the shadow up a little bit. And I'm really happy with, I think that's decent. Let's just say this is how this works. If I wanted to turn around and adjust the whole tone curve, I could bring that up a little bit, which I don't like what happened over here. And I could bring this down a little bit, but I don't care for it. I don't like what happened with it. So I will set this back, hit the adjust button, double click it. So now what happens is this, watch this. This is the mixer and a point color. Any color you want. I want to take the greens and I'm going to take some of the saturation out of the greens. Watch the slider really work. I push everything hard, bring it back. So I don't want that saturation is too much in there. You could have changed the hue. If I change the hue, look what it does. So you can do whatever you want to do, or you can double click on hue, double click on saturation, it'll reset it back, but I'm going to drop this down. Then, by the way, this is point color. This is what this does, which is fun. Take the little mouse, make this active right here where the little eyedropper is. Take it there, go in here, click that, and it brought up exactly that color. And now you can play with just the exact shade of that color. I think that is a game changer in many, many ways. I don't really play with this, but I'll show you what it does. This does shadows, highlights, midtones. So this is the shadows. We'll do that first. I'm going to watch. If I do that, see how he went darker? It just takes the blacks and the darks. If I want to take the highlights, look what it did over here. It's blowing out the highlights and it took the highlights down. And I can do this also that way with midtones. I also can change the color. I can take this little mouse and move the mouse around the outside or to here. You can play till you're dumb, deaf, and blind with this thing. But I personally don't. I'll double click on adjust and I'll set it. And then what I want to show you, if I needed to denoise this, does it have noise? Not really. Got mud, he's got muck, he's got no noise. There's a tiny little bit of noise back there, but I know where I shot it. Up on the histogram, it tells me that my ISO was 500. I know I'm not going to have a problem with noise with my camera at 500. But here's the funny thing. If I did need noise, which we'll do one after, I hit denoise. I sometimes, depending upon my lens, I find a lot of correction happens with the lenses I shoot with. Did you see it jump? Especially with a wide angle, it will really, really make a difference if you just simply check the two boxes, especially enable profile. The chromatic won't do anything. Chromatic doesn't do anything unless it really had a lot of chromatic aberration. I don't want to get into that. But ignore this, watch this. I'm going to take this little thing called lens blur and I'm going to click in a little box. Okay, and watch what happens when I click the box. It's going to analyze. Watch back here. Okay, now if you can't see it, watch what happens when I blur the amount more.
Wow.
Look what it did with the back. Adrian, you like that one? This is like, who needs Gaussian blur anymore?
Wow.
You don't need it. And here's what's the kicker. Let's say I move that. I've got it extremely high right now. Let's say I take this and I move it to the middle.
Huh.
It blurred the elephant, but left that. It's changing your depth of field. And it's putting the focus point where you tell it. If I wanted to make the front all blur and the back come in, I could do that too. So what do I do with this? I move it all the way back down because I want that elephant in. And I want the grasses in front to be clear. I don't want that to be clear. If I wanted a little bit less of it to be clear, watch, I can make this and shrink it down. And if I let it go, it's spinning. I'm going to really drop it down. Do you see how it changed this even more? So you can open this, and I'm going to say, give me a little bit more behind. I want these grasses. Watch right here in the grasses. If I bring it all the way down, it's going to spin. Watch how this all blurred out. It actually blurred the elephant too. So as if I want to start to go on the end of this and move it up till I'm basically happy with what I've got in the way of the elephant. And I would do more of this. I want a little of this to be in because that's too blurred. That's closer to the truth. One more. I'm spreading it out. And I might even open up the left end. So now I open the whole thing up. And now I'm going to back the blur off. And that now looks like I shot it. If I'm going to just do a little more, you could blur it out a little bit more. But that's so often that is just the neatest tool in the world for me. It's a game changer. So that's it. I could put a little vignette on here. If I want it black, I'll go that way. If I want white, I go that way. I can change the midpoint if I wanted to. And the last thing is calibration, which I had closed. So that's, and I might turn around and just come up with the shadows a little bit more on this. Or maybe even just boost the exposure up a touch. Being careful about not killing this. Now, I could, watch this. I'm up here now in this little line that says, this brings you back to default. This was my crop, and it shows a dot underneath so you know that I cropped it. This is red eye. Nobody uses it anymore. No camera shoots with red eye anymore. It's almost impossible. And now I go there. This little circle is like another game changer. And if I turn around and I want to make this right here a little less white, I could simply do nothing. Don't hit anything up here. Just take a brush. And I'm just going to slowly brush. I'm just going to not be neat about it because I want to show you. And now I'm going to simply take the whites down. Watch what happens. It just went to that area. So what it looked like before, if I go up here to the mask, this is masking, by the way. It's like layering. If I hit this, there's before and the after. See it? Night and day. Simple little brush. We'll use some more of that. So let's close. Now, if I wanted to go back, I can either hit that or I can hit this, and this brings me back to close also. And I do also use these, but not often. This is content aware. This is a kind of remove tool. It's a healing tool, and that's the cloning tool. Me, I jump right out and go right into Photoshop because I like Photoshops better. So let's say we're going to take this one now. Here we go. I'm going to crop it. So I come up here to the crop tool. And I'm going to bring it up. Well, that's a nice panoramic. I could choose to leave it there. Maybe that'd be a virtual copy and I make another one. But it wasn't what I was looking for. I am looking for this. I could give him a leg if I wanted, but then it's off-center. I like it symmetrical. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to bring this down. I'm going to do a very, very aggressive crop just to show. Here we go. So now I crop that. First thing I do is I hit auto to C. All right, brought it up a little bit. I look at my histogram, it's still a little push. I know I'm a little too dark here, a little shadowy here. So what I might do is I might hit my option thing and see where my blacks are. I'm going to move them up. I hit my option key for you would be Alt, and I check my whites out, and that's fine. And I might move my shadows up a little bit, maybe increase a touch of clarity, maybe a little bit of saturation, but not a lot. And so now where we are is we now have that. And we've got a nice aperture in the background. It's blurred out already. I don't really need that lens blur thing. But I want to show you another toy. 2 more toys. Here we go. I have to move you off over here. There are presets that you can use, one of which I happen to have. Some come with Lightroom, and I don't remember what did or didn't, but watch what happens. If I put my mouse over it, this says brighten the backgrounds in spots. I don't like that at all. This says bright subject and background. Hate that. This says brighten subject, darken background. That's closer. So if I move my mouse off of it, that's the other one. And if I move my mouse back on, I get that one. That's kind of interesting. I might play with that a little bit. So this would be make that brighter. This would be morning sun, which is kind of neat too. And this would be razor sharp. Be careful of that. So this gives you options also as far as presets to change. The other thing, which is fun, is up over here under profile, Adobe Color. I very rarely ever touch my white balance. My white balance is almost always, unless I'm in bad lighting, like we're inside in the clubhouse, my camera doesn't really ever need that. If I leave it on auto, it sets it right. But here, these little 4 boxes, and it says this is an Adobe Color. So watch what happens if I click on the boxes. Okay, here we go. So now if I move my mouse over these, it's going to darken them or lighten them. It's going to make the changes. I can see them. I can see what I'm shifting to. And I can literally pick one out if I wanted to. And if I'm not sure, here's the original, here's that. A lot of contrast on that. I might darken up this eye and this side of the face. I probably would brush him a little bit lighter. But there's all, I could change him to black and white in here. And these are what they call camera matching. These have to do with camera profiles. But there's a million other, he's artistic. They changed the white balance a little bit on all of them. So that's another option. And when is it? And then if I go back here to the beginning, the first one in the top left is beginning. The point of the matter is this. Pick a picture that you really, really care about, that you want to work. My problem with this picture is I love the picture. I don't like the leg. So I would have to take the leg out. I'd have to go into Photoshop and remove the leg. And I probably would. Is that cheating? I don't think so. I've just taken a piece of the picture out. I don't know. It's like cropping. What's the difference between cropping and removing a piece? So your call on that one. So that's what I would do with that. Let's go to this one. This one is a white polar bear on white snow. So before I do anything, I crop. And if I'm going to crop, and I'm always cropping, by the way, notice my crop is always open here on the tool. I very rarely crop to an aspect ratio. If I need to change it to print it or do something later with it, I will. But I very rarely use an aspect ratio unless I'm printing. So I want to take some off of his butt. I don't need half of the picture to be snow. I was in a truck and that's all we could do. So maybe I get a little bit of foreground and maybe a little more of the background. Let's just say it doesn't matter. I'm just giving you an idea. Watch what happens if I hit auto. White on white is very different. I hit this and I don't like the fact that it blew out the fur here. See how you don't see the detail anymore? Watch, if I unclick it and I go back here to Command Z, which is undo. You see how you have more detail in here? And if I bring my clarity up, you can even see more and bring a little texture up. Now you see a little more texture and clarity. Now if I hit this auto, you see how you lost that? So I Command Z again is my shortcut. So that would be where I would go with this. And there is a little bit of noise with this. And you can see it if I do this. Can you see the noise in this? You see specks, little tiny grainy specks. So if I wanted to get rid of that noise, I go down here to detail, and I'm going to do one of these, just show you. I'm going to hit denoise. Now, it might go to another, can you see this screen? I'm not sure if it came up.
Yes, yes.
All right. And when it gets to this point, if you want to see what the difference is, if you click here, that's without enhance, and you click here is with enhance. You can't see that right now, it's too small. Then I'm going to click enhance. Okay, and it's going to come back. And when it comes back, it's going to come back as another picture. It is creating another picture. This was, the original was a copy, a virtual copy of ARW, which was my raw file. And when it comes back in again, it's going to pair up another one with it, and it's going to be a TIFF file. And as probably, I think denoise comes back as a DNG. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't make any difference. It's going to come back, though. I just want you to see the difference, how it comes back. It comes back stacked. All right, here it is. It's stacked. So if I unstack, here is my original, my virtual copy. And here's what it did when it took the noise out. And now I don't see any little noise in the green in the back. So it just gives you an idea. And it will make another picture. Back in Finder, if I went back where my pictures are, the originals are, it's going to show this DNG back there with the original picture. So it is making another picture when it does that. Let's go to the lion. Come on. All right, we don't. This lion is a bit of a mess. Let's set the original, reset it. Here's the original. He was right up by the truck looking at my feet. So we crop. And we come down there, and I'm going to take some of this out. I normally would bring this into Photoshop and probably get rid of that, but now I got that. And now if I hit, and you can tell he's in harsh light. And this was one where I would say, hate it, gonna hate it all the way because it's harsh light. If I hit auto, it gave me a little bit more of a sunny golden tone, but it's still harsh light. If you look at this, it's clipped both ways. It's clipped on the left and it's clipped on the right. So what I would do with that is I hit my option key and I'll go right to my black while I'm holding it down and move those blacks out. I'll hit my white and I'll move the whites of the grass out. And now what I have is that. I'm not liking that all that much. So I'll go back here and I'll set it a little bit more with saturation. I like that better. That's better than what it was. And by the way, if I wanted to do the before and after, here we go. This does down here. If I click that, it shows you the before and it shows you the after. So, and if you want to get out of it, just click it again, it'll go out. So here's where these little toys come in. I'm going to now go into these little content aware healing tools. This is content aware. All right, and I'm going to move the size of my brush up enough. Come on, there it is. Can you see the brush is sort of, the brush is not cooperating. I'm getting the brush over here. Oh, I know why, hang on. My fault. I'm still in that compare mode. Okay. And I want to take this out right here in front of his face. So I'll try to I'd go right to Photoshop. But I'm just going to try to see what it does. I'm going to wait. And then I'm going to go out of it. And that's what you have. So that actually worked. If here it is in front. And if I click that eye again, now it's gone. So it does do a reasonable job. I can use a clone stamp and I can use a remove tool, but I could take all these little guys right out of his face if I wanted to. I'll just wait. But I could do this a lot faster. And now what I'm going to do is hit close. I could do all of those grasses if I wanted to save this cat. take a better picture. All right, here we go. Now we are in, let's see if we reset this. Here we go. So I'm going to reset it to here. And obviously we need a crop. This is an interesting picture to work with. So I'm going to crop. And I'm leaving the crop open. I am not locking that crop box. I want no aspect ratio. I'm going to take out what is not adding anything to the picture. Let's just say we go there. Now I'll close the crop and take a look at it. So now we got that. And now I turn around and I'm going to hit auto. That's what I normally do. Auto didn't do an awful lot. And there's a lot of white on here and a lot of blacks in here. So this gets touchy. Here you've got the histogram pushed up. So I'm going to hit my option key. I'm going to move my black and I'm going to move that until it goes away. I got a little more. I'm going to hit the shadows up too because I want more wing. I don't want to lose detail in here. And I might even move my blacks up a little further. And then I'm going to turn around, move the exposure up a hair. And now I'm kind of happy with that, but I don't want this to get blown out. So I might have to come down with the highlights to just make sure they don't lose the detail in the chest with the feathers. So now I have that. Now the bottom line is, this is, I don't really use this often. I could move this curve up right here, but it just, I don't care for it. I very rarely ever work with it. But this does have a little bit of noise because I shot this at an ISO of 1000, which is all up here. So watch this. I'm going to hit these two, and that's going to blow it out and straighten it out. Then I'm going to go play with this. I'm going to hit the little box and I'm going to hit apply. It's going to analyze. I'm looking for the background. There it went. It's like the Gaussian blur just happened in 5 seconds. It's pretty strong. I think it's a little too strong for me. It takes a little bit of the environmental aspect of it out. So I would move this blur amount down a little bit. And I would, this I'm okay with. It just, it's too saturated. So what I would do with this now is I'd come back up to here. Where's our little thing? Where's our color mixer? Here he is. Trying to find the color mixer. Hang on. Let's close this because we don't really work with it all that much. We lost one. Hang on. Here it is. No, it's underneath there. I'm still looking for my, here it is. Color mixer. Okay, let's open that up. So I'm going to go to the mixer and I'm going to look for these greens. And I'm going to take all the greens, anything that's green, I'm going to take it down. Which I like better. You can play with the luminescence too. And I might take that down. And then what I might do is then I can just move the whole exposure up and brighten the bird up a little bit. So maybe I'd get something like that. So that's how I would edit that picture. And then I might put a vignette around it. And if I did that, there's other things down here, by the way, on this blur thing, you got to play. I'm going to send you a video. I'll give it to Adrian. She can send it out. It tells you exactly how to work this tool beautifully.
You sent it to me. So
okay,
I'll
I
send
wasn't
it.
sure I did.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Yep. And maybe you get that. So anyway, editing is all wherever you want to go with it. It's just, I'm just showing tools. This one might be an interesting thing to play with the sky. I don't think I'd crop too much of it out, but I could go back up here to the little circle and I might go pick sky. And I might turn around and now the sky is highlighted and now I might drop the sky a little bit. I personally wouldn't do that because it's too phony. I actually like it better that way, but I just want you to see how you can do this. How you can play with changing the whole background of the sky, and it picked it out very nicely. Pick and choose your battles with where you want to go with that one. if I wanted to, let me see what else. Here's the mask. Oh, but let's do this. Let's add another mask. I'm going to create a mask, and I'm going to say, I'm going to say, let's go here. I can pick a subject. Let's see if it picks the bird out. It did pick the bird out. Now with the bird, I might want to add this tail in. The tail got left. So what I will do on this mask is I'm going to add with a brush, and I'm going to move my brush size down, and I'm just going to add the tail in. That's all. So when I make the adjustment, it's got the tail. So now what I'm going to do is simply drop the whites. You see how I got more feathers back in? This all now has detail. When it was there before, that's where it was, it did not. So if people were evaluating this shot from me as a birder, they would say, you lost and clipped out the whites. I could drop the whites down a little bit and drop the highlights down a little bit. And now I've got the detail back in the feathers. It's very difficult with a white bird and black wings. So that'd be what I would do with that. All right, so here's this one. Let's go here. Let me reset it. Here we go. This was an interesting, let's get out of this. Okay. Reset. Come on. All right, so what's happening here with this shot is I was looking for a little bit of emergence in the background, but I had to shoot it dark enough because I wanted to also get some shadow to it. So what I would do is I would crop it first, which is always where I tend to go. And I'm going to take a little off here because I don't need all that much on the side of the barn. And I might, because this is crooked to me, I might just do that and square up this edge. And now I've got a crop. I still have this problem here. So I'm going to hit auto first and see what it does. It gave me a little bit of what I wanted, but it still didn't give me this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the exposure down just a hair because it brought it up a little too much for me. And then I'm going to take my shadows and move them up. And now I'm starting to get a little bit of a sense of emergence to the back. Just to show you there's a little something going on in the barn, enough to make you kind of get interested in it, but not enough. And now the bottom line is, do I want to blur this? Then I would go to the blur tool if I wanted to blur it. If I brought my exposure up a little bit more, now you see even more of that. But now I brightened her too, because I brought exposure up for everything. So I could go here and I could go to subject, wait, and now I got her, and I'm going to drop her back down again where I liked her there before a little bit. And I'm going to give her a little bit more saturation, and I'm going to give her a little bit more clarity, which is down here. Where are you? Here's the clarity is down here. And that's pretty much what, and I'm going to close that. And now I'm happier with that. So I shot it dark to begin with, so I could get this sense of immersion behind in the barn. That's just me. Okay, so here's the saving grace. You would look at this and you'd go through your shots and say, get rid of it. This was looking, I said, no, I get rid of what that was. It was, I shot it at night and I had my settings for the day, and then it got night. I pulled my camera up and said, oh, I forgot to adjust. So here,
Yeah.
I will go up here and I'll look, because this is wabi sabi. This is old stuff. Here we go. So that brought it up a little bit. Now I got to bring it up. You know what's going to happen? I'm going to have noise because I see I shot this at 20,000. So now I'm going to do this. And there's my wabi sabi. There's my old pump. But now I got noise all over. So I would simply then go down with this. And I immediately know where I'm going with this. And I would hit the noise thing if I can find it. There it is, denoise. And I will hit that. And I will boost this up because it has a lot of noise.
Wow.
It's still loading. Look at all the noise in it. This is color noise as well as. Come on. All right, so it took some of it out, but notice it's still got some dots. I want to take a little more of it out. So I brought it up higher. Now I'm going to hit the enhance button. It's going to come back as another file. But when that does, we're going to see the noise. It'll come back stacked as a DNG, and you're going to see the noise come up, go down on it. And then I can go play with these with the lens blur. Doesn't work as well because this is flat Stanley. This pump is right up against the window and the door. So you don't have enough room behind to really have that kind of a sense of difference when you play with the lens blur in terms of aperture. So you've got to kind of know where its limits can come and where it can't. It's showing up in Lightroom up above. If you see up here on the top left, it's creating a DNG and it's taking out a lot of noise. So this one's going to be a little slower. So come on, here we go. So here's the noise before, and I'm going to blow it up. There's the noise, and there's the new one.
Oh my gosh.
It's monumental.
Wow.
There's the before, and here's the after. So
And then you just leave it in the folder stacked like that until you
yes,
want it for
because
something?
yes, because I leave it stacked in there. I don't bring anything ever out of these folders unless I'm going to do something with them. I'm going to send them somewhere. I'm going to email them, and then my export settings would be different. And then we can't get into that today, but that would be a whole nother thing. How do you export and how do you email? It works very well.
Okay.
So if we're here, and then I want to turn around and go back to the little color mixer. Where is it? Up here. Let's say that I wanted to change the pinks. So I click on the pink, and I'm going to change the saturation. Look at the pink.
Wow.
And let's say if I went to the lens thing, you won't see much of a difference, I don't think. I'm just curious. I doubt it. I'm going to hit apply, check off the box, wait, it's analyzing. It's flat Stanley, so when you shoot something against the wall, even if I brought this all the way down, let's see what it does. Well, what it did was, see, it was good.
little
It blurred
bit,
this out
yeah.
here. It did. It actually
Yeah.
did work. So maybe a little more than I want. And maybe I could take some of this, but you could raise this up and look at the difference. Look at it taking the background out. Not that I would want to do that with this picture, but
Did you
question,
put up the
go ahead.
comparison?
yeah.
And question, please. Am I mistaken? I thought the
Hold on one
auto
minute.
noise reduction worked only on a raw file. Am I wrong or right?
You're wrong. It works on a JPEG. It works on, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if I wanted to see the eye, you hit the eye up above on that by the lens, and that's off, that's on.
Huh.
It's unreal, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if I'm in this one, hold on, the reason I'm getting a split screen is because I'm still in the comparison mode. I got to
Right.
get rid of
Yeah.
that by hitting the Y again. All right, so I'm here. And this really was, it's a copy. Let me see if this is, I'm going to reset it. Okay. So I'm going to look at this, and here's something interesting. I'm going to come right down here. I'm going to start with this to show you. Transform. I'm going to go here rather than play around with the crop, and I could turn it and twist it by using, I could do this, right? I could straighten it by doing that. Or I can come down here and I could hit level. Or I could hit auto. It'll do all kinds of things that way down here too as well. And I'll show you that with the architecture in a little bit. So let's say that we've got this, we close that, and now I'm going to turn around up here and I'm going to hit auto. And that's pretty good. So watch what the lens blur does with this. It's very interesting. if I go here to lens blur, I have no noise in this picture. And I apply, watch the water here. It's like have in your mind what you want to do. I don't want to lose that reflection in the water. And so if that's off, that's on. You see it? This is the normal, this is the way it was. This is now the way it is. So let me turn this up even more. Watch the blur happen in here. You see how the water got all blurred?
Softer.
So now the question is, if I use a little eye, that was before, and this is after. So the question is, do you want to lose or not? Me, I like long exposure. I love blurring water. I like water to be silky. To me, that works beautifully for what I like. I like cotton candy with waterfalls, probably wild on a waterfall picture, see what it would do. But so I could do that, and you could or could not do it. If I move this, notice where this is all the way over on the right. Why? Because the main subject is in the back of the picture. If I move this all the way to the front, watch what happens to the castle. Give it a second. The castle went out. So you really want the back part of this picture in and the front part maybe perhaps not. Your choice. It's an interesting thing though. So here we go to this one.
Wow.
If I try to crop, it's not going to untwist this. It's in the lens. It's shot it with a wide angle lens, and it's at 15 millimeters. And when you shoot wide angle architecture, you're going to get this. So what you have to do is go to, immediately don't try to play around with the crop. Go to the transform tool. Play with them. Hit auto. If I hit guided, I don't care for that at all. If I hit level, a little better, and maybe it's close to this. Let's see what it does. If I go back to the auto. So what happened though was I lost a little foreground in here. Do you see it? Here's the original.
Right.
When it has to adjust for all that and untwisted, you will lose a little bit when it comes to, what did the guided do? God, it was horrible. And if I do full,
Oh.
and there is a way that does work, but not in this picture. So I would therefore leave it there. Then I would come back up and I would play with this. I'd hit my auto. It's a little too bright for me. The sky is very white. This to me is a sky replacement. But you got to be careful about what you replace it with, because this is raining out. You can see the rain. You can't put a nice blue sky up here. It's not going to work. So I'm just going to take the whites down a little bit. And I'll maybe leave that exposure where it is. And I might bring the shadows up a little bit. And maybe do a little, but watch what happens now when we play with, oh, and I use the, I wouldn't go here. I might be able to go, let's go to the oranges. Let's see what it does. I'm going to throw my, yeah. So you might get a little bit more in there. But if I go here to the sky, let's see what it finds. I'm going to hit sky. Let's see what it picks out. It didn't pick that out enough, but it did enough, and it didn't pick it out over here. So if I wanted to get rid of this here, but you've got the sky coming through these little spokes. So let's see what happens. If I drop down the whites, see, it needs a sky replacement, but you're really going to have to work on what sky you're going to put in there. It's a pretty architectural perspective, but and that would be not something that I would really chase. Here, if I hit enable lens correction, do you see how it spread it out?
Yeah.
It really makes a difference with a wide angle lens. It really, really does. Or architecture. So let's go here. Here's an architectural shot. Let me see if I can reset it. There's a few things to be done with this. So here's your architectural shot. And I am going to start here. Get out of that circle. I'm going to start here by going right to transform because I know this is a little twisted. So I'm going to, and I know I shot it wide, it's 24 millimeters. So I'm going to go right here to and enable the profile correction. Then I'm going to go down here and hit auto. Let's see what it does. That's fair, but I don't, it's got a natural curve that comes in here and comes out. Let me just see what it does if I hit guided or full. Look at the full.
Huh?
Okay. That's completely distorted and unnatural. That's interesting though. So I would hit maybe, I might hit the guided and then I'll go back up here to the crop tool. And then what I'll do is I'll turn it just a shade, or I might even hide this. I don't know. But the point of the matter is, you can see what the difference is. Now I want to get rid of these. So I'm going to go back and do my normal thing. I'm going to hit auto. Well, and I'm happy with that. So now I'm going to get rid of this. So I'm going to try this. Normally I would go to Photoshop, but I'm going to do the content aware tool. I'm going to make sure the brush is big enough that I cover it. You got to make sure you're outside the diameter of whatever you want. This is pretty tight. I'm going to probably have I'm going to have a little bit of skeleton left in there. You see
Wow.
that little bit right there? Because I wasn't wide enough. So if I reset it and I brought my thing up here and kept that little plus. There, I'm just doing it quick. And it does, it works it and say goodbye. And if I want to take this out, I could take that out. I didn't like what it did, by the way. Did you see it? So I might refresh it and tell it to take another look because I didn't care for that. Now look what it did in the second round.
Yeah.
I hit refresh again. So wrong tool. That's why I go to Photoshop. So let's say I reset that, and I'm just going to work on the other one. Let's try this one. That's a disaster, totally. Okay. So we're going to reset that, and we'll try the last one is a clone stamp, and that will not work because clone stamping means it's got to take something from another area, and there's no other place you're going to get that from another area. So the best tool was really this one, and I'm going to make this narrower and take it out in two parts. I'm going to take this out first, and I'm going to let it see what it does. And now I'm going to take this and come down from here and see what it does. And I don't like it. That's why I go to Photoshop. Photoshop and take that right out with the remove tool. Say goodbye. So you kind of get an idea of what works and what doesn't work. So here's one. And I'm going to turn around. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm not going to crop. I'm going to hit auto. Let's just see what happens. Not much. Okay, let's get out of here. I'm going to hit black and white. I like the black and white better. So if I wanted to stay black and white, here's a place to play. Go here to those little squares and come down here and take a look at some of these. You got to get into the black and white phase. Here we go, black and whites. I like that better. More contrast. So let's just say I pick that one and I leave it there. Now I'm going to close that. And then I'm going to say it's still not right because it's got all kinds of angles. So you might leave it alone because this is fairly level, but it's not. So I got options here. I can decide to pick a part of this. Let's say that I pick this. And it's still not right. It actually, I picked the wrong line. So what I would do is reset that. And now I come back down to my transform tools. This is where I become the transform. There it is. That would be the right one. And the other thing I might do is I probably shot this. It was at 50 millimeters. It wasn't too bad. Let's enable the lens correction on it. And that would be now the shot. And you could play with contrast and whatever else and play with different black and white scenarios, but and I'll close that. So this would be the before. And let's just see, click one more. It's giving me different views of it in terms of the wide, top and bottom, you can see. And get out of that. I'll go back to E to the loop mode. Just go back to the loop mode and bring it back. So this is interesting. This is, you kind of look at this and I kind of saw it and it was at a really tough angle underneath it. But so I'm going to take this and I'm going to straighten it a little bit first. And then I'm going to crop it because I kind of know where I'm going with this. I see a turret and I see like the castle in it. And this has got way too much over there. I'm going to leave that there. Maybe leave a little bit of the side. Let's just say we crop it there. Then I might hit the auto. I brought out the blues a little bit more, a little more detail in the window. And then I might play with the transform tool. I'm going to hit auto and see if it changes it a little bit. It did, a hair. And if I enable my profile correction from my camera and my lens, didn't make a difference. But I like this better. It's got all kinds of angles coming down and graphics with it. And then I might come back up in here and now I'm going to go to the blues. And I'm going to bring out the luminescence in them. Look what happens. Just want a little bit more saturation. And I might even come up here with a little clarity. Maybe a little dehaze that darkens it too much. I didn't like that. I'll click back to 0 on that. And that would be my shot from, I might crop more of this out and bring it in. I'll come back, which you can do after the fact. Come there. Maybe that's better. I don't know. But architecture lends itself to those. And in this case, Flat Stanley, there's nothing you would do. This is a straight glass reflection. You're not going to play with the lens tool here, the lens blur, not at all. But if I go here and I reset this, okay. So I knew I had to shoot this dark or I would wind up with the water and the sky all blown out. So I intentionally shot it dark. And what I will do here is I will crop. This is a reddish egret. It's a great bird. It's better than a great blue. It's a beautiful bird. Very animated. Bigger than a great blue. So I'll crop it there. Let's just try that. And actually, I will take a little bit more off of here and a little bit more there. Okay, so let's say I get that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the auto and see what happens. Now we're close. Too dark. And it's also blurry right here. So what I would do with this is I would take this and throw it through sharpen. Topaz sharpen. That it would immediately go in there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit my option key to find out where my blacks are. I know where they are. They've got to come up. And I'm going to hit my whites. And I'm going to bring them up until I see the little white right there, right there. And now what I'm gonna do is I've got my shadows, which are a little too dark. And now I would get something like that. And then I would throw it out through sharpen. And it's just, as I would say, soft wingtips. So what was my shutter speed? I shot this at 1/640th of a second. I should have been 1,000. But I could sharpen these wings if I wanted to, but that would give you an idea of what you would do with that. Now here's a lens play. This one is a lens thing again. I'm going to reset this. There it was. Far away, as you can tell, I didn't want to walk there. But I like the cactus. And I am actually gonna,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna come up into here. Let's just say somewhere in here. I'm gonna do that. It's fairly sharp, considering it was that far away. I'm then gonna hit my auto. I'm gonna look at that. It's got some noise. I do see the noise in it because I shot it at, and the ISO wasn't bad. No, it doesn't really have noise. Okay, so now what
Yeah.
I would do with this is the lens thing. Aside from doing, I got a little too much here. I'm gonna hit my option key and I'm gonna raise my blacks a little bit. Come on. And in my whites, and I'm gonna drop them down a little bit. I'm gonna drop my exposure, I'm gonna raise my exposure a touch, and then I'm gonna drop the whites. So I'll drop my highlights down there. So let's say I'm in here somewhere. Now I might give it a little bit of just a touch of saturation, a little touch of clarity. I like the texture in it in the head of this down here. And maybe I probably wouldn't do this, but let's just say we play with the mixer and I'll move the saturation up a little bit. And if you change the luminescence, watch what happens to it. The luminescence makes a big difference. So it's not something to aggressively play with too much so. But let's say we go there. Then I'm going to come down here and I am going to hit my enable profile correction. And now I'm going to the blur tool. I'm going to hit apply. Let's see what it does. It usually is pretty good about locating the subject and finding out where it is. Look how sharp this got. Holy smokes. So let me just show you that. Now it's off. Now it's on. So let's just say I wanted to move this a little more out to there and blur the back a little bit more. I'm actually,
No.
yeah, I'm even going to blur it a little bit more. It's a tough one on this one to kind of get it because I want this. But there is a way, when you see the video that I sent you, because I don't want to spend a lot of time, there is a way to click here and visualize the depth. Okay, and then there's also a way to refine the depth with more focus and more blur adjustments. I just want you to know it's there. We're just touching the beginning of it. But and I might even crop a little bit more. I probably would. I would crop here, and I would probably crop here, and I would probably crop there. Then it would be somewhere in there. And this one is interesting with tools. So the first thing I want to do is, it's a bit of a mess and there's things in here I don't want, so I would crop them out. So I am going to crop that out, even at the cost of losing a little bit of that edge of that flower. That doesn't bother me. I might turn it there a little bit to save a little bit of that, because I think the blur might do what we needed to do back there. So let's say we do that. It's still got to come in right here. All right, so we do that. And then we come up here and we hit auto.
Oh.
Now we got a mess behind. So what I'm going to do is this. I want to blacken everything behind. I'm not even going to use the lens blur. We could try that. Let's just see what it does, but that's not where I would go with this. I'm going to hit apply. Let's see what it does. See how much it'll blur in between in the back. It
Yeah.
did. Let's blur it even more. And then you could go to desaturation of the greens. You could go to the greens and you could desaturate them. But my thinking is I wouldn't do that. What I would do is I'd come up here to the circle and I'd say, pick the subject. And it gave me what I want, but it didn't give me this. So now I want to add to that. If you want to add, you simply go up here and you hit add. You're adding to the selection. So you're going to add. And how are you going to add? 50 million ways. I am going to add, and I'm going to make it add with what they call an object, because the object tool is very, very, it's discriminating. In other words, I don't have to be exact. I'm just going to give it an idea. You tell me where you think that is. There it
Wow.
was.
This is unbelievable.
It really is. So object works very
That's
well. And you don't, then I'm going to do another one. I got to add again because I want this in here. I'm going to pick the object again. Now I could have done that with the other tool with the brush, but it would have been a pain in the butt to brush it exactly. The object kind of, if you give it a boundary line, a perimeter, it kind of knows to fill everything in. So let's say I got that. Now I'm going to do this. Bang the exposure down. Whoops, hold on, my fault. Okay, I've got that, and I should have done it the other way, but what I'm going to, actually this worked better than before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to, on the mask, there's an option right here, which is a good thing, and I'm going to invert the mask. Now it's giving me everything else. Okay, right up here in the invert tool. And now I'm going to do this. And I'm much happier with that than I was if I played with lens blur and desaturation, trying to tone down the background. My feeling is get rid of the background, then come back up in here. And maybe I might crop down a little bit because I don't need that. Might even come down a little bit more.
Mhm.
Something in there. Wild, isn't it?
Great.
So, and the last one I'll give you, this is interesting. This is in Lakeland, Florida. These are all white pelicans that came from Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah.
They had all died in the lake. This by Florida Polytechnic University. And in that town, in the college town, they have a ton of these birds that started with a pair that Queen Elizabeth sent back over because all of them died. And they came with stipulations. The stipulation was you had to have a vet check them every month. You had to make sure the keeper fed them the right things. You had to keep the people out. They had to be vaccinated. Whatever had to happen with the vet bills and whoever cared for them and keeping people, it was fabulous. So that was where this was. So I would say we're going to crop this. And maybe take a little bit off the end. I kind of like him in here, but I don't need him in here. And I'm going to take a little bit up from here. Let's say they wanted to keep the back because I'm going to blur it with a lens to make it more environmental so you see that they're in the middle of a city rather than in a park somewhere. So I would do this, and I could pick a line like right here. I'm picking a line in my mind. I could do that. And if I'm not sure that I really have that right, because it does have a little architecture, I'll hit auto, see what it does. And tweaked it a little bit, and I might even hit my enable profile. There we are. So now we have this. But now all this is in and all this is in because I shot this at an f-stop of 7.1 and it brought that background in at 7.1, believe it or not. So now what I will do is go back to my normal thing. Where do I always go? Auto. I like that. Nothing's clipped. All the white feathers have all the detail. The beaks are sharp. I probably could, I got a little black in here, so if I hit my option key, I just want to raise the blacks up to lose them. Yeah, it's a little bit better. So now we're there. Now you got a little detail up here in the sky. I could probably drop a little bit of the highlight and pull a little bit of that. It was a really funky rainy day. So now we got that. Let's play with the greens for a minute. And let's bring that and a little luminescence up. Oh, by the way, I could go into this, just simply select the brush, make my brush really wide, and I could simply just paint all this grass if I wanted to, and I'm not picking a background or a subject or anything. Let's just say I wanted to do that. I could just bring the lawn up if I wanted to. Okay, if I wanted to, but I don't. So I'm going to delete this mask up here. Okay, so I will delete the mask and I'm back to normal. So now let's go down and close this by hitting right up here or hitting there. Either one will close it. This works great on portraits with teeth, smiles, face, glasses. When you go in here to this, notice you have an option of people. If it picked up people, it would have given you that option. So now we're going to come down here to the lens. Let's see what it does. I want to have this fade off here at the tail end of this. So it did. It blurred the back, but not enough for me. I'd have to have that blurred more. That's a little bit better for me. And I want, this is all good here, but maybe I want the bird feathers to tail off a little bit more. So I'm going to move this down here a little bit. And watch what's going to happen. See what's happening? Watch me move this. Give it a second. You see how it's moving it more and more? Now it's bringing the bird back in.
Sharper, yeah.
Right. But if I bring it back, it's going to bring these guys in and leave these out a little bit too
There you
much.
go.
See it? I don't want to lose that. I still want to keep,
Right.
yeah, that's a
Right.
little better. It's fading off. So if I looked at this and I brought it back out, I'm sort of got these guys in and it's sort of fading out into the background, which works better for me. That's kind of where I would go with it. All right, it's 5:18. I did my normal ramble as quickly as possible. So now what questions do we have, gang?
Miriam, I have a question.
Go ahead, Miriam.
Okay. I didn't know about collections, so what I did was generally make what would be like collections in the main pictures folder, and I keep my pictures on my D drive because I have a C and a D drive, but I back up my pictures to their own external drive if I want to. But I'm just wondering if I did do collections and I was on a picture and I had another collection that was in there that I was on a different one in the list. Do you drag the picture down to the folder that would be in the collection so that it would go in there rather than you have to keep switching up and down in the list?
I'm not sure what you're asking, but let's just say that I'm here and I want something to go into this Lightroom Classic because here's my collection. And today's work was in the collection. So let's say that I want to go back up here and I want to take, give it a second. It's just in a little, all right. I want to take this picture and I want to put that into today's collection, any collection I wanted. I could hit B because that was my last collection, but let's say I didn't set it up that way. It's another collection. I just simply drag it.
That's what I wanted to know, if you drag it.
Yeah, I'm going to drag it. Hang on, I'm going to release it. I'm trying to find the right thing. Picture.
Okay, that's what I want to know. And I had another question. Now, on the left side, if you close up collection, you have a history of all your edits. So if you suddenly realize you made a mistake on something, you could go back to the collection, the history list, and you can do
Correct.
Control Z, and it'll put you back to the last one that you successfully wanted.
Correct.
And you didn't mention that, so I thought I would mention that.
I didn't, I'm looking here, I just didn't have it in here, hold on, gotta go into develop mode, I missed it in the develop mode, hang on,
Right. And,
Okay.
and you-
hold on. I'm in a little jam here,
that's okay.
I'm in
And
a
I had
jam.
the third item when we
Hold
finish.
on.
Wait, let's figure this one out because I'm interested in this.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the history.
It
Okay.
should be
Hold
there.
on, I'm gonna shut down my presets, because my presets
Right,
are
yes.
fungus.
Oh,
Here's
there it
this-
is.
And yes, so if we left off with, let's say, this picture, which was the last thing, update the focal range, and I go back here, there's the original picture.
Right. But you can go to anything that was in the list. Or
Yes,
even
correct.
Control Z for that.
Yes,
Okay, and I also do keywords on whenever I edit a picture, and that I use the list. I sometimes go in the list so I don't have to type it, and then drag the name, I believe, up to the keyword window, and then it's in there.
I think you just
You can do
click on
that.
it. Do you have to drag it or I just clicked on it? If I had used it.
I haven't done it in a while, so maybe you click on it. I haven't done it in a while, but
yeah, just click on it.
Yeah.
right.
And I will say something about what Marianne had said, and I will tell you this, and if you're going to cry, if you lost all your pictures, if I said tomorrow they were all gone, would you cry? And if the answer to that is yes, then please back up your work. So here's my workflow. You know my pictures, I showed you where they were in Finder, they're all in one folder, okay? I also have my pictures where they are in Finder, though, is on my external drive. I don't have my whole picture portfolio in my internal drive in my Mac or my PC. They're on an external drive, okay? I then take that drive with everything on my internal drive and I back both of them up to another external drive, okay? And then from there, because I am very redundant and always have been, I simply then copy my entire picture folder to a third drive and I paste it into that drive. I delete the old pictures and I put it away. So I have a third drive with a backup. I do not put things in the cloud. I have my own backup system. I back up everything.
That's how I do it at camp because I need those pictures for a yearbook. Otherwise, the whole camp is like angry at me. So I back up every night, and then I back up once a week to another drive, and I back up to Dropbox. So
yes, and I do some things. What's in my Dropbox account is things that I do with you people, so you can all go on there and do whatever we need to do. But I also put all my award-winning pictures and things that are specials that get nods or that I submit for those high-end contests, they're in there too. But I will say this to you also, that relative to let me see where I was going to go with this. I kind of had a frame of thought, but it had to do with your backing up. Oh, I know I was going to tell you. My catalog. I showed you a picture of that. It's on the presentation PowerPoint. You can see what the catalog settings look like. And in those catalog settings, and that's why I tell you, know where they are and don't touch them. There's only one reason to ever touch them. I had my catalog settings in my internal drive inside my Mac HD, but all my pictures were on the external drive. So when I called Lightroom up, I called it up and it came up from the catalog open from internally in my drive, where all the metadata and all the files were, but it accessed the pictures. It knew enough to go to my external drive to get the pictures there and access them. All right. I have figured out, though, and this was kind of where you and I were a little bit, Adrian, down the road. I have figured out that when I go away for a long period of time, or if I'm in Africa or I'm someplace else, if I or I want to go work inside in the living room on my laptop and I don't feel like being stuck here in my room on my desktop and I want to do a lot of work, I can take the external drive, unplug it from my Big Mac, plug it into my laptop, call up Lightroom and the same thing happens. All my stuff is there because I've got my catalog in the same place, and I just move the catalog and the pictures on the external drive from one to the other. The trade-off with that is it's a little slower. It's a little slower to work that way because you're pulling the actual metadata and the catalog information up off an external drive. It's a little faster if you're on the internal. But if I work on the internal drive and now I take my pictures from the external and I plug it into my laptop, I don't have the metadata anymore. I don't have the catalog. So it doesn't work that way. It'll work if you're on a trip, but now you have a separate catalog. And by the way, there is a way for you to open up Lightroom on your laptop, your PC or whatever, completely not connected at all to your other big machine. And you can open up Lightroom there because you can have it in two places. And you can put all your pictures from a shoot in Africa while I'm away on an external drive, a little tiny portable, put them all in there. When you're all done editing and whatever else, and you come home, you can then take that, put it all in a collection, transfer it all over, and put it onto your main catalog back on your desktop. It's not a separate catalog. And there is no limit to the amount of pictures Lightroom can deal with, or metadata, or keywords. You don't need to make other catalogs. It'll just keep on going and keep on going. Hundreds of thousands of pictures. They can't find a limit on it yet.
I have something else I wanted to add, if you don't mind, Miriam, that these edits that you do in Lightroom are only for Lightroom, and that if you want it finished off, then you either have to open up the image in Photoshop Elements or Photoshop CC, and then save it as a JPEG. I start with a DNG file, which is a RAW file. So this way then I know, and I keep for a while, I keep my DNG files on my hard drive for a while. And but when I know I'm finished with everything, as I edit each one, I put the DNG file in like a folder that says edited. And then I have a folder for JPEGs so that I know. So I swing back and forth to Photoshop from Lightroom and to the other plugins, like on One, and so forth, and Nick. But as long as I know I have a polished copy as a JPEG, eventually I'll get rid of the DNGs because there's no reason to keep them and take up space.
All right, so I would say this. To me, and I am a redundant lady, but you beat me by far. So I would say this, that I would say, personally speaking, and having this conversation where I've actually spoken with Matt in a Zoom online about it, and he and I both agree, neither one of us really feel any need to use the DNG file. So I basically work with Photoshop files, PSDs. I work with TIFFs when they go out and they come back, let's say if I'm in on one or I'm in whatever and I jump out and I come back. By the way, when you say you move them out to Photoshop Elements to finish them, the only reason I go to Photoshop Elements or Photoshop is because I still want to do something with the image that I haven't been able to do in Lightroom.
Well,
If
yeah,
I've gotten
that's
all my
also.
editing done in Lightroom, I do not go back anywhere else and save it and do anything. I just back them up with my backup on my hard drives when I do my backups.
But let's say for some reason you had a problem with Lightroom and you had to uninstall it, and then you want to grab that file and put it on another computer, and you wouldn't have your edits with you.
Okay, so stop.
You can't send an edited file from Lightroom to someone.
All right, stop for a second. First of all, that would never happen to me where all of that catalog information, and I'm going to show you where that is again. Hang on. I'm going to stop share. And I'm going to reshare. And I'm going to go here.
Because I had my hard drive reformatted.
I got it. I understand the fear. And I completely understand the fear. Okay. This is where my pictures are. They're on my external drive. Here's the pictures. And here's all the metadata. Okay. So here's the deal. It would never happen to me that I would lose that because this whole thing in its entirety, all the pictures and the whole catalog is backed up on a time backup drive constantly. And in addition to that, I take this I copy this whole thing and the pictures and everything, and it's on a third drive. So if my Lightroom had to be reloaded and I lost it, I could simply reload it by clicking this little button right here, and my catalog would come up from a copy.
But I just wondered though, but you can't go and send somebody an edited file that you edited totally in Lightroom because it doesn't have all the edits. If let's say you go to your
Right, then you have to
email and
export,
attach it.
correct, then you have to export it. That's different because you're gonna do something with it. And I said the key is, I don't touch and do anything at all with any picture in Lightroom after I'm done editing until I said this in my mind, gee, I want to send this to Adrian, I want to email it, I want to send it to the F3C. Then I export it, and then I would have a copy of it with the edits applied permanently. It's another picture in addition to the original. I still haven't touched my original.
But you can export from Lightroom instead of
Yes.
going to Photoshop and saving it in Photoshop?
Can export right out of Lightroom.
Directly out of
know that.
Lightroom. Yes, yes.
Yes, but sometimes I want to apply on stuff, so that's why I go there.
You could, when you bring
When
it
they-
back to Lightroom, okay, from on1 and it comes back to Lightroom, and you export the picture out of Lightroom, the on1 edits will stay if you have brought the picture back into Lightroom.
That was
Correct.
going to be my next question. I assumed that, but I just want to make sure that was true.
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
Okay.
Yes. And you have to set up your external editor so that it will allow you. And Harvey, if you set up your external editor to allow for Photoshop elements, it will do that. But if you have Lightroom, if you have Photoshop open, then it gets confused about what you want to do, and it'll go to the one that was last open. So you have to make sure that you close the other program
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
it'll want to go to that one. Yeah.
We also said that if you're using Elements as a plugin, it will not go back to Lightroom
It
automatically.
does. It does.
Automatically?
Yeah, mine does.
How?
Maybe you need
I
a
set it
new
up in my
version.
external editor, it goes out and comes back.
Maybe you need a new version.
Yeah, maybe the newer one.
It is the
I ha-
2024 version.
I
Yeah.
have that. I have that. Okay.
But make sure Photoshop is closed. And what happens is, I almost, in my mindset, that once in a while I'll go to Photoshop Elements. Why? Because some of the filters are kind of interesting and they're quick and they're easy.
Mhm.
But I'm not a big filter person as much as if I'm going to use filters, I would tend to use Topaz more than anything else. But yes, but the bottom line is you don't need to save, you need to back up. You need to make copies of everything with a Times backup, or you need to back up in some way, however your PC or your Mac is, need to back up. And I do a third copy, which isn't the time backup. I just physically copy it and paste it. And then I put it away. And I will never lose everything. Because I hate crying when I lose it all. I would
Yeah.
cry.
Been there,
Yes.
done that.
Yes.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, I hated it when they reformatted my hard drive.
Yeah.
But they didn't get the D drive.
Well, with me, I have all G drives, but I do have, and these are really great for travel. These little tiny 4 gig, little tiny box crucials. They're solid state. They're fabulous. So I use them to travel. That's what I do when I travel, rather than, because I'm not taking my physical hard drives out of
Right.
my G drives are heavy. They're bulky. They stay. They got plugs.
Mhm.
You know, so, but I also don't like to unplug and replug and unplug because it wears down the little plug that goes in and out of your laptop, and after a while the weight of whatever you're hanging off the drive tends to corrupt it. But any other questions?
No, this was great.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And
Good.
this
Great,
is
Anne.
really,
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Eileen, did you pick up some things out of this, being a Lightroom user?
Yes. I never
Mindy,
used a mask.
You're
and
not
it
a
goes-
Lightroom user, correct? But you were just.
I'm not a Lightroom user. I just wanted to learn about it, just to see what it was all about.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yes, it's
Yes.
fascinating. I like it now. So
Yeah,
down
some of-
I
I
will
mean-
tell you, the biggest problem with Lightroom is you need somebody who is knowledgeable to set it up properly, because I can't tell you how many times we have played with people that start going with this thing, and they don't have a total concept of it. They got pictures all over the place, and they don't know where their pictures are. And Lightroom is just, you've really got to be very regimented about keeping house, so to speak. You've got to be a neatnik. You have to be somebody that doesn't like things getting away from you. I don't like anything getting away from me. I can't stand it when I don't know something. I can't stand it when it's all over the place. Doesn't work.
The thing that blew me away, and I had told Anne that maybe 10 years ago, when Lightroom first was getting popular, I tried using it and I couldn't. I
Then I
couldn't
probably
switch my
should have
brain.
seen you in the Kravis
Wow.
Center then in remember the
Yeah.
Kravis Center with Scott Kelby? Where's that
Yes.
for all those things? Yeah.
Yes. Anyhow, but the value added with the selections that you were making, all of these selections, the background, the foreground, the amount of hours that I took all this time doing the marching ants to select things in Photoshop Elements so that I could, get the same effect. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable.
Well, that's why when people say AI, a lot of this is AI. I mean,
Right.
it's figuring out where the subject is, where the background is. It's using artificial intelligence to do that.
Yep.
Based upon 20,000 million pictures and algorithms, that it over. But it's like it's an editing tool. These are just editing tools, and they all work fine. And they're all, as far as I'm concerned, if you take a piece of a telephone pole out, what's the difference between that and cropping?
Right.
A crop, because it has no value. There's some part of the issue, and you can change colors and change hues and change saturation. That's all fine. But when you introduce elements into the picture that weren't yours to begin with, and it's not, that's where it becomes a little different. Not editing, but bringing something in that you had generated from AI because you didn't have it.
Right.
That's to me, that's the difference.
Oh, and the only reason I've been using DNG files is because you have all the metadata that stays with it, and some functions of Lightroom didn't work with JPEG files if you had them natively as JPEG. So that's why I left it, because it's very easy to keep the DNG till you need it, for whatever time frame you need it, and then the final version is the JPEG. And I mean, you can keep it open as a PSD if you need more edits to it at some point, but that's why I'm doing it. And then I mistakenly, for some pictures that were off my phone, were in HEIC, and you got to be careful with that. You need a converter for that to have it work in Lightroom.
Yeah.
So,
all right, I got to go cook dinner, guys.
That's all.
This was great. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was great.
Really,
I learned a lot of
really
things I didn't
good.
know about.
Yep.
But
That's good. We always learn from each other. All right.
Yes,
And Eileen, I'll be
absolutely.
in touch with you shortly.
Okay, bye.